In this video, we're going to break down the biggest time-wasting red flags in modern gaming. These are the terms and things you should watch out for if you don't like your time being deliberately wasted. Some games respect your time while others trap you in a system designed to waste it. But it's often difficult to know in advance if your next game will be more grind than fun. Now, because it's a bit ironic to watch a long video about not wasting your time, here is the short version of what we'll cover. We will be talking about single-player time wasters. These are things like fetch quests, collectathons, crafting, skill trees, save points. Just use the chapters to skip to your favorite section. I originally had red flags in multiplayer games as well, but then that video would have been over 40 minutes long, so wait for a part 2 for multiplayer red flags. If you enjoyed a video giving you the meat of the pie in the beginning, drop a like for the algo. People have often said that video games are a waste of time. Well, aren't all leisure activities technically a waste of time? But you don't see the same thing said about golfing, reading fiction, or watching movies. Some of the best moments in our lives are spent in our leisure activities. Time is a valuable resource, and although great moments can be experienced playing video games, frustrating ones can be too. So let's get started with the obvious ones and we'll dive deeper as we go along. Single-player games. It's no secret that modern single-player games have a lot of padded content these days. Chores that make it feel like a second job instead of ever-decreasing hours of leisure that should be fun. The industry has decided what makes a great game is how many hours you can put into it. Many games would be great, amazing games if they were only 20 hours long. But because AAA studios want to make you feel like you got your money's worth, they'll pad another 100 hours into it just in case. Sometimes forcing you to grind XP, run fetch quests, or collect random items that have nothing to do with the story at all. Just shallow, repetitive gameplay that's hidden behind flashy marketing. Let's start with the trendiest thing of the last 15 years. Crafting. I don't know if I could blame Minecraft for this, because real-time strategy games, MMORPGs, and others existed long before. Gathering resources to build things wasn't this innovative thing that suddenly took over because of Minecraft. But I do want to specifically talk about crafting and gathering resources in first-person shooter-type games. Instead of crafting, now we have a workbench. We gotta go kill that rare animal and use its pelt. But it's not good enough. We need these other 3 items. And after all this, we get rewarded with weapon or armor that's way too low for our current level. So all that was a waste. Classic crafting and building still exists in first-person type games. This is where we're punching trees for wood or hacking away at rocks for stone. It's a lot of unnecessary busy work. There's no skill involved, no interesting choices, and no sense of accomplishment besides getting the new item they're forcing you to get. At least with Minecraft, there's experimentation and so much variety. You can build anything and let your creativity and ingenuity take over. The crafting itself in that game can actually be fun and experimental, and there's even a creative mode where you don't have to punch trees to gather resources. They just give it to you. The massive success of Minecraft made it clear that there's an audience for this system, and that's totally okay for a sandbox game. But when I'm playing a linear cinematic experience, I want brevity and a clear, focused narrative. Imagine if you're watching a movie and the guy has to punch a tree, mine the ore, then go to the blacksmith and put the axe together. It's sometimes just a replacement for discovering a rare item. It has become a crutch for many devs, a low-effort way to add content into the game without enhancing the experience. It's become a box to check rather than a feature anyone has asked for. I don't want to punch trees. Stop wasting my time. RNG, Random Number Generation, or RNG is when a game doesn't guarantee an outcome. You could maybe throw procedurally generated as the red flag term here, but that has led to so many great outcomes that I'm going to stick specifically with RNG. The algorithm flips a coin when it needs to be unpredictable. So for example, when an enemy is defeated, it picks a random number from 1 to 100. Lower numbers will drop a common item, and the highest number will drop a legendary item. Most games, however, use pseudo-RNG, PRNG. This means that devs on purpose make sure it is not totally random. They don't want you getting that epic item too early or without working for it. So this forces the randomness to fall within a predictable range. RNG is not bad in theory. It makes a game you bought feel fresh for longer. It determines which rooms, loot, and enemies will appear every time you boot up. This ensures that every run feels fresh. Otherwise, you just remember where every enemy was and it would be too easy and predictable. But the problem is that .prng, even if your character is maxed out, it might not be good enough to trigger that outcome you're after. Some amazing games like Returnal have collectibles in very rare rooms, making the runtime way longer than it needs to be, as the gameplay in post-credits largely consists of rebooting the game, speedrunning through the maps, and hoping the right room shows up. You do this over and over again, and I kid you not, it will take days, if not weeks, until you see that stupid last glyph you need for the platinum. This is not fun. This turned a great, amazing game into a sour experience. Speaking of repeating things over and over again, there's nothing I hate more than unskippable cutscenes. I'm going to throw in QTEs here, QuickTime events, just because they're literally cutscenes with button prompts. Sometimes cutscenes are skippable, but if they have QTEs, they're never skippable. I saw it. I get it. I don't need to see it again every time I die to a boss or fall off a ledge. Just let me skip it. It's not that hard. It's surprising to me how many games force you to watch the entire cutscene or not allow you to skip dialogue options. This is especially annoying when doing the New Game Plus runs. You want to go back and collect things for the trophy, and you have to put up with 2 hours of cutscenes. No, thank you. The desire to try things again, that one more try, is a powerful motivator. But when you add in cutscenes, it kills the mood by making the time commitment so high. A quick retry turns into the most boring chore. In older games, a cutscene was a clever loading screen. Just play a video while the backstage hands set up the scene. But that problem is not a problem of modern gaming. Load times are incredible now. I realize you spent a lot of time making this cutscene and you're really proud of it and you want the world to see because it looks so much better than the actual game does. That's why you showed it in the trailer. I get that, but don't force me to watch it. It creates resentment. The cool scene you worked hard for and put on all of your marketing is now the most hated part of the game. Good job. You happy? Unnecessary difficulty. Games being difficult as their whole personality. I understand I'm going to get roasted for this and get told to get good by you-know-who out there. But while a challenging game can provide a sense of satisfaction, there are many instances where the high difficulty is just designed to artificially extend playtime without adding that much. I understand Sims aim for realism because video games do make things look a lot easier than they are in real life. A well-designed, difficult game teaches you through your failures. I love the first level of Demon's Souls. All the surprise attacks when you are super weak, it pays to learn where they're coming from because you didn't see them coming the first time around. And it pays to learn all the patterns, and you get good the more you die. Or something like Celeste. It's harder than other platformers, but you can clearly see what you need to do. An unnecessary difficult game, you'll rely more on trial and error, and most importantly, luck, in order to progress. The gameplay loop is just dying and retrying, and worst of all, sometimes the only way forward is grinding. The game makes it impossible for a player with the right skill set to defeat a certain enemy or boss. The only solution is to come back with better gear much later. The player gets funneled into areas where the enemies are much weaker so they can spend hours grinding and doing the same thing over and over again. This forces you to spend a lot of time doing the not fun part of the game, even though you understand the game's mechanics and have the skill set to move forward. The XP grind is just a tax you have to pay in order to continue. The worst kind of games are games that do not give you feedback on why you died. I'm just about to finish Eldest Souls right now, and boy is it frustrating. Half the time I die, I re-watch what killed me, and I still have no clue. The character is often obscured by a foreground element or an enemy that I don't even get to see the hit, or a game like Rain World. A few people really love it, but so many people blame the game for dying instead of their own actions because the animation and movement is so unpredictable. Sometimes all you need to do is just turn down the difficulty. But again, games where the difficulty is their main personality trait, that is not an option. They want you to do it over and over again. Speaking of, let's talk about save points. The lack of save points. The only thing worse than dying to a boss over and over again is the super long walk back to that same boss in area. If I'm fighting a boss, give me a save point right before. I don't have time for this. The walk is not adding difficulty or new information or even helping with the grinding. It's simply punishing the player's time and patience with a walk of shame. This whole starting from the beginning and the difficulty from the last point was a remnant of arcade games. They needed you to pump quarters first, so they sent you to the very beginning. It's psychological punishment. Just like the unnecessary difficulty, you don't learn anything new. There's nothing to be gained by repeating an entire half-hour sequence. Modern gamers don't have that kind of patience or that kind of time. Hot take, but every game needs quick save and manual save. It's such a breath of fresh air when a game offers both those things. When save points are sparse, we become paranoid about losing progress and play super cautiously. This makes the game less dynamic because we don't want to explore and engage, because all we care about is the next save point. Also, sometimes life just happens and you gotta pause, or your friends go online and you want to play something else. Save points are the best way to respect the gamer's time. Again, I'm gonna mention Returnal, which was one of my favorite games I've played in the last 5 years. But when it came out, there was no way to save. You were expected to beat the whole entire game in one play session. So if you were already 4 hours into Returnal and making great progress, but your friend wanted to play a multiplayer game, you had to either say no or throw those 4 hours in the trash. Now, on this channel, I talk a lot about games that I've beat, but I also have to talk about games I've never played, like new games coming out, day one drops, or games I haven't even got around to yet. And I often only have the footage from the trailer to show you. And my number one pet peeve is no actual gameplay in the trailers. I'm so sick of cinematic trailers showing only cutscenes, or even in small text at the bottom a blurb that says, not actual footage from the game. Why are you showing me this? This wastes my time personally, but from experience, if a game does not show you gameplay in its trailer, it will generally not respect your time. So this is like a meta time-wasting red flag. Before you even start the game, the marketing just doesn't respect your time. Just show me gameplay footage. Show me what the game actually is like. Forced slow walks. Okay, this one is annoying, but I've seen less and less of it recently. This was more a thing of like early 3D games. Do you ever play a game and talk to a character who's like, hey, come walk with me? But the problem is he's walking too fast for your walk, yet too slow for your jog. So you try to keep up. But the timing is just off. In more recent games, once you start running away from them or ahead of them, they still continue their dialogue, sometimes through a walkie-talkie or something. But I hate it when games forced you to walk slow with an NPC. If there's a run button, we're both using it. Speaking of slow walks and walking slow, inventory encumbrance. You are carrying too many things. That last loaf of bread really did it. Now you have crossed the imaginary threshold for how much you can carry. So we will punish you by turning you into a snail. You will only walk super slow until you get rid of that piece of bread. No fast travel. Yes, we all hate walking, but backtracking and walking, the worst. For older games, fast travel was a luxury, which is why it took 3 minutes sometimes to load. But these days, load times are great, and so every game needs a great fast travel system. If I'm going back to a place I previously visited, don't make me walk the same long path all over again. Just give me a quick fast travel and be done with it. Fast travel also is huge where you're stuck in a cave or somewhere really obscure on the map and you don't want to do all that navigating all the way back. Fast travel gets you out of a jam, so please give me fast travel. If you don't have fast travel in a game, that's a time-wasting red flag. Backtracking. Metroidvanias are a whole genre of games and I personally love them, but I'd be lying to you if I said these don't have a ton of backtracking. Love it or hate it, backtracking is a core principle of most games and especially Metroidvanias. They tease you. They show you an area that's unreachable to give you a clue that you need a special something a bit later in the game to get past this point. So you make a mental note of that spot that you can't jump to yet, and then you see another unpassable area and another unreachable area. You will know the levels like the back of your hand because you'll be going back and forth so much in the end game. I'd hate to include it, but it is technically a time waster. Uninspired skill trees. Now, in many modern games, even ones that aren't RPGs, skill tree has started to become more of a chore. Games like Assassin's Creed, Borderlands, or Middle-earth often feature massive, sprawling skill trees filled with incremental, uninspired upgrades like deals 2% more damage. These systems are starting to feel less like character building and more just a time-wasting grind where the player is just simply filling out a blank spreadsheet. Skill trees should be all about builds and new abilities. Add something new to the game as you level up. That way you could have something to look forward to. As frustrating as Eldest Souls was to play and beat, it did skill trees the right way. Every time you defeated a boss, you got 1 skill point, and you got that boss's ability. Not only that, but you could actually take back your skill points and spend them in a different way if that build wasn't working for you. This approach elevated the skill tree from a mere progression bar to a critical tool for strategic expression, where every point spent mattered and was a conscious choice that redefined how you played. AAA developers know this, because you do see meaningful upgrades in the skill tree, but the temptation to pad out the experience with mundane numbers-based progression can be too great. So in a game like the newer Assassin's Creed, you'll often see new abilities that fundamentally alter how you approach combat and exploration. This is great, but also right beside it, the same skill tree is filled with countless passive percentage-based skills. Ultimately, this approach to padding out content through the skill tree can lead to a sense of exhaustion and player apathy, a lesson learned the hard way by Cyberpunk 2077. The game's original skill tree was so notoriously reliant on these stats-based increases that it faced significant player backlash, leading to its eventual and much lauded overhaul in the 2.0 update. This new system prioritized giving players meaningful, build-defining abilities. This was a direct and necessary response to a player base that was just tired of the illusion of choice. I personally preferred the way Skyrim did it. You upgraded your one-handed weapon stats by just using a one-handed weapon. The stats were built around your approach to the game, instead of being the other way around. Yet another fetch quest. They are seen as unnecessary time wasters because their core loop is simple and often unrewarding. An NPC asks the player to go to a specific location, retrieve an item, and then come back to that same NPC. It's just busy work designed to pad out the game's length. After all, what's the point of having an open world if that world isn't filled with characters that can't even go 200 feet and retrieve the items themselves? I realize it helps with world building, but it just breaks immersion a little bit when your big strong hero has to take a break from stopping the world from ending just to go gather some chickens. It makes you feel more like an errand boy. I realize they're a staple for leveling up and grinding for resources and are often a way to populate the world with content. After all, if an open world game came out and it was not populated, the people would go crazy. It would get terrible ratings. Shadow of the Colossus broke the mold of open world games by completely subverting the genre's established norms, while the popular trend at the time, and one that still continues today, was to fill vast maps with an endless list of side quests, collectibles, and points of interest. This game did the exact opposite. The world exists not to provide content, but to create a profound sense of scale, isolation, and purpose. The long, lonely journey on horseback between the colossal encounters were an essential part of the experience. It made the boss battles even more impactful. Again, I do have to give it to Eldest Souls for going for the exact same approach. If you want to learn more about these subgenres, they're called boss rush games. All the action and difficulty without the padding. Pointless collectathons. Fetch quests and collectathons are some of the most common and often criticized features in video games, especially in open world titles. The only difference being is, at least a fetch quest, there's an NPC, maybe a voice line, and a reason for collecting the thing, where collectibles are just in-menu items designed to get you to explore the map with zero content. They're 100% time wasters because just the act of collecting itself is so repetitive and offers very little in the way of meaningful gameplay and story progression. I realize they're optional and not meant to be collected by everybody, but it's really frustrating trying to get a platinum on a game. I love the Batman Arkham games, but when I look back, I don't remember them fondly. All I remember are Riddler trophies. Same with the original Assassin's Creed. Great story, very memorable, but those dang feathers really soured the experience. It's a super lazy way for the devs to get you to explore their map. Zero additional content or voice lines, just mind-numbing busy work. The feathers that were often hidden in hard-to-reach places turned the engaging parkour and exploration into a frustrating and time-consuming scavenger hunt. Even worse, the reward for collecting all 100 was a lackluster cutscene and a minor achievement. A very minimal payoff for what many players consider to be an hours-long, mind-numbing grind. This system set a negative precedent for future open-world games and is still being used today. It's frequently cited by players as a prime example of unnecessary padding in a video game. We can't talk about padded content until we talk about mini games. Now I realize these are totally optional and you don't have to play them, but boy are they distracting and addictive. Sometimes they turn a 20-hour game into a 120-hour game. Oftentimes a game just introduces you to it but leaves it as optional. These are fun to get lost in, to waste some time, but again, this is a video about wasting time. But when it's not fun is when the mini game has a trophy attached to it. I'm looking at you, Yakuza franchise. Mahjong is the bane of anyone's existence that tried to get the platinum on any of these Yakuza games. I mean, you can literally go to the arcade and play Sega classics in their entirety. Also, it's personally why I never beat Red Dead 2. I got way too distracted by poker and never got to stay focused on the main story. Yes, they're fun, but they don't contribute to the plot, so officially they're a time waster. And the last one I want to talk about is for all the completionists. The lack of chapter select is a huge red flag. It can be a significant time waster for those of us who are trying to get the platinum trophy. This forces the players who missed an item or a trophy to play through the entire game again from beginning to end. It's not just a minor inconvenience, it could be a major barrier to a player's enjoyment and a massive drain on their time. Without the ability to jump back to a specific point in the story, the player is faced with the tedious and repetitive task of replaying hours of content they've already experienced, simply to get one or two items. So I guess you could retitle this Missable Trophies. Anyways, that about wraps it up. We're already at 20 minutes, so let's end the video right there. Part 2 will focus on multiplayer games and their red flag. Which single player red flags did I miss? I wanted to include some more, but I saved a few. I wanted to talk about multiple endings, but what else did I miss? What is something that's prevalent in single player games that artificially wastes your time on purpose? Let me know below, and thanks for sticking around. Until next time, be a friend, and I'll see you again.